The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. On that day, Jesus went out of the house and sat down by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. Jesus then addressed them at length in parables. A sower went out to sow. Some of the seed landed on a footpath, where birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground, where it had little soil. This seed sprouted at once, since the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. But some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit 100 or 60 or 30-fold. Whoever has ears hears this, the good news of salvation. In today's gospel, we hear the parable of the sower. Now, a traditional view of this parable might suggest that people fall into different categories. Those who are open to the word and allow God's love to grow inside them, and those who are rocky or thorny or sandy and unable or unwilling to let the word grow within. However, I don't think I can buy into that classification of people as entirely and solely one type of soil or another. In my experience, I think we all have moments of being each type of soil at some point in our lives. There are surely times that even the rockiest among us can have moments of openness, and also times that the most open souls feel a bit thorny or unwelcoming to God's word. Surely we're all called to become more like fertile soil than we are right now. But sometimes the call to be more open to God's love can feel a little daunting. What does it take to become the fertile soil of the parable? And how can we journey together to form a more bountiful earth? For the 12 years that we've lived in our house in Oak Park, we've cultivated an amateur garden in our backyard. We've tried several different crops with varying success, especially as the tree next to our garden shades the patch more and more each year. We've also participated in the Village of Oak Park's composting program since its inception, and we've really loved the simplicity of it. For those of you who might not be familiar, it takes all the hassle out of composting. Any food waste, table scraps, yard detritus, even greasy pizza boxes get tossed into a gray bin in the alley and picked up by waste management. The contents of the bin get taken away and put through an industrial composting process. With some heat and added pressure, and after several months, the waste is transformed into rich, nutritious compost that can be used for gardening. While I may not know a whole lot else about gardening, I have learned that mixing this rich compost into our soil before we plant can make all the difference in the world. Now, most years, we would make a trip or two to the Ream Pool parking lot where the compost would be delivered, bringing the trunk full of various containers of the stuff back to mix into our garden plot. One year, however, while the pool was under construction, they happened to relocate the compost drop-off to the very end of our block, so we could just walk down with buckets and bins as often as we wanted. That summer was one of our most productive, with more tomatoes than we could eat and tons of yummy cucumbers. All thanks to the collected waste of ourselves and our neighbors, turned into compost. Even if some may find it a little gross to think about, the richest soil for growing things always has some sort of compost or manure or other type of fertilizer mixed into it. Even the richest soil has something that's in it that starts out as refuse. When I think about this in light of today's parable, I'm reassured. Too often I feel like I'm the barren path or rocky soil or thorny ground. Becoming rich and fertile soil to receive the seed of God's word isn't easy. Sometimes it can seem a little bit more than I can live up to. However, when I remember that rich soil is not pure and unadulterated, but it has some compost or manure mixed in to give the seed everything it needs to grow, I'm somehow comforted a bit. If we strive to become pure, fertile soil without rock or thorn or blemish, we'll sorely be disappointed. We have to grow the seed amongst whatever fertilizing elements are within us. That's what provides a balance of nutrients. Furthermore, I think there's a message for our world today in this metaphor. But to find a little more clarity, we need to go back to the second reading, where Paul writes, "The sufferings of this present time are as nothing compared with the glory to be revealed for us." And he continues that all creation is groaning in labor pains, and we also groan within ourselves. I know that we as a people, a nation, and a community have been groaning a lot this year. In the wake of yet more tragic deaths of Black men and women at the hands of police officers, and the devastation wrought by the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting economic collapse, there's truly so much suffering around us. We hope and pray that the groans we hear and experience foretell the birth of a better society, rebirth to a new appreciation of the plight of our Black and brown neighbors, reawakening to the inherent challenges of life that they experience, a recognition of my own white privilege and the part I play in our all too racist society. But if we want to grow from the challenges of this year, we need to take these experiences and let them become the compost in our soil. Frankly, this year has brought home for us that we as a society and as individuals need to deal with our own crap. The waste that we want to use to form rich soil doesn't become compost without effort. To turn our food waste and garden detritus into something that will support growth takes time and heat and sometimes pressure. The heat and pressure needed for these experiences to become part of fruitful soil are the work that we all need to do. This work starts with listening and being open. If we are to be open to God's word, we need to be open to listening to it through the mouths of those in the Black Lives Matter movement. And it takes time and presence. When my family attended the rally in support of the mural artists this week, I listened to the words of the members of Royal who had organized and created the BLM mural on Scoville Avenue. Although I had heard their call for 4 specific changes in Oak Park, ranging from defunding to the police, to getting police officers out of the schools, I don't know that these demands really sank in for me until hearing them directly from the mouths of the youth whose work had been vandalized by a message of ignorance and hate. If we're going to become the rich soil we are called to be, we need to do the work. This means listening. It means learning. This means confronting our own privilege and willing to be uncomfortable. So how has this year changed you? Are you being broken open to the word in ways you hadn't thought of before? Are you allowing the seed to be planted and grow into real change? God is an inefficient gardener who spreads the seeds of love with reckless abandon, knowing that most of what is sown will land on rocky soil or sandy path or thorny ground. God will keep sowing this seed of love wherever we're at. It's up to us to form the experiences of our lives into the fertile soil that will grow God's love.
We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. As God provides our every need, with grateful hearts let us receive these gifts of love and make return to bless the world, to bless the world. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. All creatures share one common home, one loving God, one song of hope. The rocks cry out and praises ring. Rise up and sing, rise up and sing. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. Where hardened hearts have turned to greed, trampling upon the fledgling seed. Help us to tend to others' needs. Open our eyes, open our eyes. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. Let plows be forged from swords that kill. Let tools of war be shaped to till, and break the hard and stony ground. Lord, bring your peace. Lord, bring your peace. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, mercy reign, let mercy reign. We till the earth, we tend the ground, sowing hope and peace where none is found. In selfless love, God's life abounds. We till the earth, we tend the ground. In selfless love, God's life abounds.